Welcome to my top 10 games with a Christian theme. Now, why didn't I do religion, all religions? Well, the reason why is that's really big, and I may actually end up doing that at some point, but I wanted to narrowly focus this in on Christian themes, because I think this is one of those genres that maybe 10, 15 years ago were just like trivia games and Bible trivia and this kind of stuff, or a real game knockoff. And now we're starting to get really good Christian-themed games that just aren't Bible trivia. And I wanted to shine a little bit of light on those. I think these have like a little niche underneath the board gaming hobby. And I wanted to pinpoint some of these and show them off and maybe give you something that you could play with your family. As always, I have to say, I haven't played every single Christian game out on the market. I can only recommend the ones I've actually played, and those are the ones that will make the top 10. If there is a really good Christian game that you feel like should have been on this list, please put it in the comments below, and maybe I can get that game and play it, and maybe even review it, and maybe shine some light on it. That would be really helpful for me, because I can't know every single game, and I haven't played every single game, although you can tell, for somebody who doesn't get publisher games, I do play a lot of games and have a lot of games. My number 10 is Hagath, Builder of Ships. This is a Christian-themed game about a guy who builds ships. And this game probably plays better two-player. And it comes down to a lot is just drawing cards, and you build these ships and you try to cross the water to score victory points, right? And the shorter trips give you less victory points and require smaller ships. But if you build a larger ship, you can go on the longer trips, but those score you more victory points. The big con about this game is that it comes down to just drawing the right cards sometimes. There's not a whole lot of strategy outside of that. But there is some strategy and decision making on which trip you're going to make and when you're going to kind of stop pressing your luck, because you can spend a lot of time drawing cards. It's an okay game. It'll never make anybody's top 10 games. It's okay, but it does have a Christian theme to it. So it'll be number 10 on this list. Number 9 is Ark of the Covenant. Okay, so I'm probably splitting hairs here, but this is a Carcassonne game with a Christian theme. In this case, the Ark of the Covenant. And what's really big about this one, and the big change for this one, is the prophet that can double the power of a city, or double the victory points you're going to get for a city. That's going to be the big change. But for a long time, this was the Carcassonne variant to go out and get. Now, Carcassonne, you may have your own beliefs or playability to it. It has a lot of different versions and expansions and themes and whatnot. But Ark of the Covenant was one of the earliest ones, and it actually is a very good game. And there can be an argument to be made that this is the Carcassonne variant to get, or at least if you had this variant, that you'd be very happy with it and you still have Carcassonne. So Ark of the Covenant will be our number 9 today. Number 8, Settlers of Catan. Now this one is Settlers of Catan with a Christian theme, but there is a little bit of difference here where you can build walls of Jerusalem, and there's a few other things going on. Now the copy I had, the components are not fantastic or great, a little bit done on the cheap, but it is here, and it's based off of a really good game. Now I put this one number 8 because Settlers of Catan is such a good game. Technically it might be a better game than some games on this list, but because it's piggybacking already an established game and just kind of changing a few things and maybe a variant, it gets pushed down the list. I'm giving a lot more points for originality and coming up with a new game as opposed to just changing a current game and maybe fiddling with it a little bit to make a variant. So here's going to be Settlers of Catan. If you like Settlers of Catan, this could be one that you can easily add to your collection, especially if component quality isn't a huge sticking point to you. There's a big difference between the collector's edition of Settlers of Catan and the Settlers of Catan box set, if you can still find it. Number 7 is Solomon's Temple. It probably is easily the worst game on this list, but it's an original game, so I'm putting it above the other ones. It's a 2-player game where you're trying to build Solomon's Temple the quickest. It is a card draw. It's got some dice in it. It's not a very strong game, although you are going head-to-head in this one. It's probably one I would tell you to skip, but I needed 10 to make the list. It's definitely on the bottom, but it has an original theme, so I'm pushing it up just a little bit over some variants of other games. And it might be a little bit stronger than Hagath, the Builder of Ships. Number 6 is Battle for Souls. This is a heaven and hell battle for the souls of human beings. You have the 7 archangels of heaven fighting against the 7 princes of hell. So somebody's going to be playing the good side and somebody's going to be playing the bad side. Somebody playing the light side and somebody playing the dark side. It's a 2-player only card game of card management and manipulation of trying to get those souls to whichever side that you're playing on. Battle of Souls is a fun little card manipulation game. The first time I played it, I didn't really get it, and I felt a little weird battling for souls. But with repeat plays, I started seeing what was going to be going into it, and I really, really enjoyed it. Now, this is not a deep, dark strategy game, right? This is pretty easy decision-making, although there are some very strategic elements to it. This is a real game. This is the first game on the list that I would say is actually a good game and probably would make the list of other top 10 lists in some capacity. It's actually a very good game. It's not a variant of another one. It does more than just drawing the cards of Hagath, and Solomon's Temple isn't a very strong game. This is the first one that I can say this is a legit game put up by a legit designer, put out by a legit company, and it's fun. It's a really good game that I'm going to recommend that you check out. Battle for Souls. It doesn't matter which side of the table you're going to be on, you are going to be fighting it out for those souls. Number 5 is Commission. Now this is a cooperative deck building game where you cooperatively together are going to be using your cards to manipulate the board. On each other player's turn, there are still things that you can do, so you're kind of involved on every other turn, more so than, say, Pandemic. Well, this game has nothing to do with Pandemic. So this is a really neat, really interesting cooperative deck building game that's a legit game. It could have had another theme on it. I think that the mechanism of the game still work and would be fun. So this is what I'm going to recommend to you if you're looking for a Christian-based game. It's Commission. This one is really fun. The table is working together, so you're able to get the spirit kind of in there of good-naturedness, and you're working against the board. And it works tremendously well. We had a couple problems with it, which is why it's not higher on the list, that it kind of dragged for us a little bit at the end. I don't know if that the cards were all that interesting. We felt like we're doing the same thing over and over again. And it's probably when I need to play more. I've only played it a couple times, which is why I don't have a full review on it quite yet. But Commissioned is one that I would say definitely should make this list. It's an original game, and it plays very well, and it's cooperative. I think it's really good for the nature of what we're talking about here. Number 4 is Kingdom of Solomon. Now, this is a worker placement game where you're building the temple. So you'll be placing your workers and then taking the available actions. We've done this before. It's a light to medium type worker placement game, but it really works well with the theme, and I think that it's a unique game. Sure, it's built upon the back of other worker placement games. We see that all the time, and we don't take points away from that. This is not a variant of another game. Instead, you're getting an original game here. It's got the worker placement, which is one of the favorite mechanisms going right now on the market, and it has that biblical Christian theme. And Kingdom of Solomon is a true winner. And listen, if you have not played this game, and you like Euro games, and you like worker placement games, this is one to check out. The top 4 games on this list, it's really a matter of what type of game that you like to play best. This one is really solid, and I'm really going to recommend it to you. Even if you're not into Christian games, this is a good game to try out. And the Christianity can be looked at as historical or not, just any other theme that's been pasted on. I played plenty of games with themes that I would never actually do myself, so this could be one that you could actually play. There's a legitimate game here. Check this one out. Number 3 is Animals on Board. Now, to you, I may be stretching things a little bit, but this is a Noah's Ark themed game, which is from the Bible. In this one, it's a very easy game to play. I love it. It's a great filler. It's a I slice, you choose. So I'm going to pick how to slice this up, and you can pick one of the teams if you want, or continue to slice it up. Then I can choose something and continue to slice it up into different areas until we all take something. Animals on Board is really neat because you get scoring for the animals, the sets that you get, right? But any sets of 2 are immediately taken from Noah. So 2s don't do any good. You need 1s, 3s, 4s, or 5s. And so this is a really interesting game. It plays really quickly. It's by Stronghold Games, and it's very, 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 very solid, and it's not preachy at all. It's a very good game. Check this out, Animals on Board. Number 2 is Kings of Israel. Now, I gotta preface it because I've been kind of knocking things down for not having originality. This one you could say is very, very similar to Pandemic, and I think I would be guilty of that. And this could be a Pandemic variant that you really, really like. Now, I really, really like this game. Now, I'm also a fan of Pandemic, so maybe this one should have been underneath Battle of Souls, more with the games that were more variants than actual new original games. But I feel like this one stands on its own. I feel like it's different enough. If you had never played Pandemic before, I think that you would have a really great time with this. And even if you played Pandemic before, I think you have a good time with this also. If you played Defenders of the Realm or Defenders of the Last Stand and you can still enjoy Pandemic, I think you might like this game. If you play Fire Rescue and you still like to play Pandemic, I think you'll like this game. It's as different as those games are. It's not like Pandemic Iberia or Pandemic Call of Cthulhu or Rise of Cthulhu, whatever it is. This is going to be something that's like, okay, we got a little bit of this, but we built off of it. So it's not like Settlers of Catan or the Ark of Covenant, which is a rule or two different. I feel like there's enough different here that it should be looked at on its own. And I'm highly, highly going to recommend this game for you. It came in at number 2 of all Christian games I've ever played. And I tell you to check this one out very strongly. Now my number 1 game is 30 AD. This is a solo playing game by Victory Point Games about the life of Jesus. Now this can be looked at 2 ways, right? This could be looked at a historical Jesus or the Christian Jesus, the way that Christianity looks at Jesus versus the way maybe a historical nature. Either way, this game is really neat. And I think when it was released, it turned some people off because they were uncomfortable living Jesus. You play as Jesus in the game, and you could be a complete failure or you could be a complete savior. And that was kind of different things you can do in the middle of it with differing results. And I don't think some people liked that. They didn't like the fact that Jesus could fail or not do what he did historically, right? I was actually okay with that because it made me go in his shoes and think about these decisions that he had. It doesn't take anything away from real Jesus to me. And as a Christian man, it doesn't take anything away from that for me. And it actually makes me appreciate what he did because I can kind of abstractly make these decisions, right? And see how hard it was for all these things to come together perfectly as they needed to come together. So for me, it doesn't bother me, but I know this may bother some people. But let's just slice that aside and say, look, it's a really fun game and it's based on Jesus and it's good. And oh my gosh, aren't we happy to have a game where we get to play as Jesus and have a good time and try to bring all the disciples together and try to do all these things, and we're learning historical stuff as we play. And the guy who designed this did not do this as necessarily as a historical thing. He has a testimony of Jesus Christ. So it's done in good taste and good spirit. I would beg you, as a Christian viewer, and I'm assuming most of you watching this are Christian viewers, that's why you got to watching this, maybe. Check this one out. Don't let the theme bother you. The theme is what brings it to the table. This is a really fun solo game. And if you just want to play it and pretend like it's not Jesus to get through the day, call him something else. Jesus or Earl or Harold. It doesn't matter. It's a really fun game. And this is a game I bought for my buddy Mike, and I was like, you really need to play this game because he travels a lot in hotels. I was like, hey, this is a solo game that you really have to try out. Mike, have you played it yet? I know last time we talked you hadn't. Have you played it? I know you're in India right now. Perfect time to play 30 AD. It's that good. I really like this game. I like it a lot. And it's a shame that it doesn't get out there more. And quite honestly, it is the best Christian-based game that's ever been made. Absolutely love it. I love the different endings you have. I like how if you do this stuff, it gives you a little bit of story and narrative about what happened. It's just fantastic. There is some luck involved, and it's a solo game, so the board has to kind of play back at you. And you need some things to kind of fall into place to get the quote-unquote best ending. Check this one out. Get over yourself. Get over any hindrances you have about this game. Check it out. Play it. If you want to scratch out everybody's name and make them Tito and make it a Jackson 5 theme and you're Michael Jackson, that's fine. I'm not trying to be sacrilegious. That's not the point. The point is that this is a very good game. Any hookups or hangups that you have about it, put those aside and play this game. It's the #1 Christian game, 30 AD by Victory Point Games. And I say to them, thank you for producing this game. Thank you for making this. Thank you for being able to have this game about my Savior that I can play and learn and share with people. It's very good. And so that's our top 10. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that it wasn't too controversial. I hope that the topic was okay. I hope you had fun watching it. I'd really like some feedback on this. What other games have you played that are biblically or Christian based that you enjoyed that I haven't played? I know Here I Stand is a big one, I think, but I haven't played that one. Please comment in the comments. It's a really fun discussion that we can have about these games that we love. Or maybe if you feel like Settlers of Catan should have been higher, because Settlers of Catan is a fantastic game and, you know, one of the best games of all time, right? Whether you still play it or not, it has, you know, a lot of history to it. Should it have been higher, or did I correctly say, look, it's not its own game, even though I put Kings of Israel up there? How did that kind of play out? But, you know, I'm always thankful for you watching. I'm always thankful for you sticking with me. I hope the topic has been fun. I hope that it creates some conversation. And I hope you check out some of these games that maybe you haven't played before. These are not the common games that you're going to see. These are not the top 10 games that you're going to see on shelves. And you're going to have to kind of search for these out in the world. And they're not ones that people are talking about all the time, likely because of the theme. But if you are a Christian and you're looking for good Christian games, you can play either solo or with your family, this could probably solve that. So I appreciate you watching. If you hit that like button or subscribe button, it really helps out the channel, and I appreciate you viewing this until the end.